All right. Welcome, Elbert freshmen and the parents of Elbert freshmen to 2022 Freshman Orientation Night or Freshman Orientation video. I want to take a second to apologize for canceling the in-person meeting. I inadvertently double booked myself tomorrow night, and then I got to thinking a recording might be a good way to do it. This way, freshmen and parents can watch this at their convenience, at their leisure, and also you can keep the video for reference down the line. So the only downside to doing a video is that there will not be a time, obviously, to ask live questions, but you can certainly contact me here at school, sgraves at elbertschool.org or 303-648-3030, extension 120. And you can ask all those questions. Students, my door is always open. You can pop in and ask questions anytime during the next 4 years. So we should be able to accomplish question and answer even if we're not live in the same room. So with that said, I'll try to get going. Again, I want to welcome you. Pretty amazing that you guys are entering high school. I'm sure for you parents, it's amazing that your young one has already gotten to this point. It seems like they were just toddlers traipsing around just a little time ago. Might even be pretty amazing to you students as well that you're here already, but here we are. There are some differences between middle school and high school, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Talk about some of the programs and classes that we offer and set you up for success for the next 4 years so that when you graduate out of here, you have a plan, at least a plan A. Life is full of twists and turns, and the percentage of college students that change their major is pretty high. The percentage of adults who change their profession once or twice or 3 times is pretty high. But we can, in 4 years, have you launch out of here with a plan A and the skills to switch to plan B or C when that time, if that time comes. Okay. So with that said, I am going to try to share my screen here. Get going with a little PowerPoint presentation or slides presentation. Just talking a little bit about our programs here at Elbert, our high school level programs. So you have an overview of things you can do, classes you can take, pathways you can embark on the next 4 years. So we call this the Elbert Ways, or at least I do. This is a take on the previous principal, Mr. Upright. His parting words to me when I took over this job was, you got to find the Elbert way. And what we've worked on the last 8 years is not the Elbert way, but the Elbert Ways, plural. And that means pathways that students can take to find their passions and get ready for adult life. So in very basic terms, we have at least 3 different ways that students can embark on over the next few years. So in the middle of this slide here, we have the traditional way. One of the best things about Elbert is that it is old school, all-American high school where we have academics, we have sports, we have prom and yearbook and all those great events that make for great memories and make for a great high school experience. It's the reason I brought my son here to go to school and graduate. And it's one of the best things about Elbert that we try to stay with that old school high school experience to a large degree. However, at the same time, we try to be a little modern in our approach here. So let's see if I can get things to go. There we go. We also have a pathway for students, which is as a high school student, you can begin earning college credit as soon as this semester. Although it typically works better for sophomores, it is possible for freshmen even to begin taking concurrent enrollment classes. That is, classes where you are enrolled in both high school and college at the same time. We'll talk about that more in just a minute. This is kind of an overview slide. But concurrent enrollment is something that you can engage in Elbert. The other thing we've worked really hard in recent years is to give our students vocational opportunities. Okay, we have a great VOAG program, culinary arts, an IT program, and wood shop, all here at Elbert. And then we have some neighboring districts that we have some agreements with, Peyton Auto being probably the primary one, where if there's another vocation you are interested in, We can usually create something if it doesn't already exist. So we'll talk about that more here in a minute. So there's 3 ways in Albert, and then there's a 4th way within this slide as well that I always like to talk about. And it is the try a whole bunch of things way, which means over the next 4 years, you could take a culinary class and take a woods class and take a VOAG class and try a college class and experiment and try to find your passions in the next 4 years. That's totally allowed. That's even encouraged. So lots of opportunities here. These are not firm set tracks, where as a freshman, you choose you're going to do this, and then for the next 4 years, you are going to go into a vocation. It doesn't work that way. We have these paths. If you already have a real strong sense of what you want to do, you can get on one of these paths and take a whole bunch of vocational classes or a whole bunch of college classes. You can also experiment with an art class here and a PE class here and figure out what your passions are in life. You got 4 years to make that plan A. All right. All right, let's talk a little bit about graduation requirements. These are in play no matter what path you take. Everybody has to reach these minimums. We actually have 2 diplomas that we offer here at Elbert. Actually, 1 diploma, and then we have a college prep endorsement. So let's talk about the standard diploma first. As you enter into high school, this is different. We were not counting credits. We were not stacking credits, building a transcript as a middle schooler or as an elementary student, but we are doing that now, starting day 1 of your freshman year. You need to be aware of that, both parents and students. By the time you get to your senior year, you finish 4 years, the minimum you need to do to walk across that graduation stage and get a diploma from Elbert High School is here on the screen. You need 4 credits of English. That may be regular English, or once you get to be an upperclassman, you can take college prep English. You need 3 credits of math, science, and social studies. Some of those credits are kind of prescriptive. There's a sequence to them that you can read on the screen for yourself. You need a semester of health, usually taken your freshman year. You're all already scheduled in health freshmen. And a semester of PE, also taken your freshman year. We lump those together in the same hour. This year it is 4th hour. So all of you freshmen are already scheduled into 4th hour health and PE. Health first semester, PE second semester. You need 1 year of foreign language. While in high school, your middle school Spanish does not count. It's illegal in Colorado to count middle school classes for high school credit. So we usually do that freshman year. As of right now, all freshmen are scheduled in Spanish 1, either 5th or 6th hour. We normally knock that out our freshman year. Senior seminar will be taken your 12th grade year. You need 9 electives. And then before you graduate, the state of Colorado mandates that you pass one of a menu of tests with a minimum score. ACT, SAT is on that list of potential tests, ASVAB, work keys. There's a number of tests, most of which will be offered here at Elbert for free, probably starting about your junior year. Okay, you do need to get a minimum score to graduate. That is, you are the 3rd freshman class to get that speech. It's a relatively new thing. Okay, so those are your minimum to graduate. You need 25 credits total. You can earn 7 credits a year times 4 years. If you do the math, you do have some room for error. Certainly don't encourage students to fail any classes, but you have a little wiggle room. You don't have to be totally stressed out about it. All right. We also at Elbert offer a college prep diploma. This is for students who are college bound. What we're trying to do with this extra endorsement on your diploma is we are trying to encourage you to take some harder classes and build a stronger transcript. That's something new about high school. We are keeping a list of your classes and your grades, a cumulative running GPA, and that is a document that you will send to colleges in an attempt to gain admission, okay? So that transcript, that's the term for it, is being built day 1 of your freshman year. That's a new thing. Didn't do it in middle school, didn't do it in elementary, so you need to be aware of that, okay? With the college prep diploma, trying to get you to build a little stronger, more attractive more rigorous transcript, okay? You can compare the two. The changes are in red. So you see you need a 4th credit of math. You need to take 4 years of math. You need to take 4 credits. That's 4 full years, 8 semesters worth of academic electives. These are harder, more rigorous electives. This would be physics. This would be chemistry, college prep U.S. history, college prep world history, business and accounting. Our culinary classes, our art classes, our woodshop classes are great, but they do not count as academic electives. As you go through your 4 years, you can always walk in. We'll counsel you on which classes count as academic electives and which do not. But you've got to take some harder classes, okay? You also need to finish with a minimum 3.0 cumulative GPA at the time of graduation, okay? And you have to pass those mandatory assessments as well. And you have to rack up to 27 total credits, okay? So you have less wiggle room, okay? These are available on the website. These graduation requirements, you can find them anytime. You can always pop into my office. I will be happy to print you a copy anytime you want. But you should be aware as you start your freshman year of these things. So, all right. This screen right here shows a typical 4-year template for a student. These are the classes you might take each year. It's not exact. It's not 100% the same for every student. But this is a pretty good average 4-year course load for kids. So you can see your freshman year is typically pretty prescriptive. That means I tell you what to take. Okay, you're taking 6 required classes and 1 elective. Now we can fudge on that. We can trade on that. Parents in particular, if you think you have a student who is not quite ready for 6 academic classes, contact me and we can delay health or Spanish 1 till next year or somewhere else down the road. But I would only do that if I think we have a student who's maybe not ready for 6 out of 7 academic classes. Most freshmen can do it, and most freshmen thank me in the long run, because what that does is it frees up your schedule as you get a little older to have more choice. You knock out a whole bunch of requirements your freshman year, and then your sophomore year, and there, going forward, you're in good position. You can see your sophomore year, you get 3 electives. Your junior year, you get 3 electives plus a science elective, because your 3rd credit of science is a science of your choosing. And then your senior year, if you have passed everything, and that's key, if you have passed everything, you might be down to only English 12 and senior seminar. And then you can take 5 electives. That opens you up for doing things like work study, where you can earn credit for working, for leaving campus. As long as you can find an employer to work with us, we'll work with them. Your senior year, if you are on pace to graduate, you may choose to come to school only 5 hours a day. If you are on pace to graduate, you could come at 10 a.m. and sleep in every day. You could leave at 2 o'clock, get an afternoon job. Seniors have that option. Only seniors have that option. But passing classes as your freshman and sophomore years pass is a really, really good idea, because you'll have more and more choice as you go. This next screen is what your 4 years might look like if you decide to do the college prep diploma. And the differences are kind of in yellow or orange there, the academic electives. Again, this doesn't have to be exactly like this. This is just an example. Okay, you can see you still have a fair amount of choice, and you just sprinkle in some extra academic electives here and there, and you end up with that college prep diploma, and more importantly, that really, really strong transcript. Oops. All right. So I like to sometimes toggle back and forth. We can just see there's what a standard diploma would look like. There's academic, a college prep diploma, what it might look like. Okay. The one thing you want to do is avoid failing classes, because when you start to fail classes, particularly English, math, the required classes, then all of those red electives have to turn into credit recovery classes. You have to take English 9 again. You have to take Algebra 1 again, whatever it is. So all this choice and freedom and exploration that you want to go into gets diminished if you have to get into credit recovery situations, if you failed classes along the way. So there's another reason not to fail classes. You want, as a senior, to not be taking ninth grade English with kids who are currently in fifth grade. That would stink. Okay, you don't want to do that. All right. Switching over to the concurrent enrollment way. Okay. I talked at the beginning of this about the idea that you can take some college classes as a high school student, get both high school credit and college credit. We have a ton of students who have done that. We've been pretty successful. This here just talks a little bit about the state law in Colorado. We have to offer this. We're pleased to offer it as well, but any high school in the state of Colorado has to give its students some concurrent option, college option as high school. At Elbert, our primary partner is Arapahoe Community College. Most of our kids take classes at Arapahoe, get credits from Arapahoe. Arapahoe is a community college that is governed by the state of Colorado. So the transfer rate of Arapahoe credits, Arapahoe Community College credits to other Colorado schools is really, really good. Matter of fact, they call them guaranteed transfer. If you go out of state, if you go to Louisiana State or to Alabama or K-State or whatever, then that's going to be a school by school deal. But if we will also pay for college classes if you find another institution that will work with us. We have worked with other colleges before that offer online classes, online college classes. We'll pay the Arapahoe Community College rate, which is currently $260, $270 a credit hour, somewhere in that. I haven't seen this fall's tuition rate. I'm sure that it will go up. It never goes down. So if you find at Colorado State, you find an online class that costs $300 a credit hour, the Arapahoe Community College rate is $270 an hour, then we'll pay the $270. Parents or family would pay the $30 a credit hour difference. So we'll work with any college that will work with us. Kids usually start with the Arapahoe Community College model, although we've had some kids do some other things. All right, Elbert will pay for tuition and fees for these classes. Anything beyond that, books, materials. We had a student do some welding classes in the past few years. He had to pay for his welding equipment, but we'll pay tuition and fees. Student, family pays for everything beyond that. All right. This says you can start as a freshman. That is true. Most of the time, kids start as a freshman or as a sophomore, excuse me. It's a little easier. It fits the schedule better. But if you want to start as a freshman, get in touch with me. Get in touch with me soon because I've already sent a list of approved students to Arapahoe Community College for this semester. I can add to that list, but the sooner you let me know that as a freshman you want to take those classes, that would be great. All right, here's some concurrent numbers. Just so you have a sense of this program and its growth since I took over as principal. The first year, which would be 2014, 2015, we had nobody doing this. We were one of the few districts in the state that did not have a concurrent enrollment program. You can see we've grown. And in the last 7 years, we've had 53 kids earn almost 500 college credits. And you can see that grade-wise, they've done very, very well. We've only had a couple of failures, a few withdrawals, we can talk about all the specifics if and when you're interested, but had a lot of success with that and want to let you know as you start as a freshman, you could walk out of here and graduate with a lot of credits. I think our record at the moment is 27. We had a senior 2 years ago graduate with 27 college credits in his pocket. So he was able to walk onto college campus with pretty much close to a year already completed. So that's pretty cool. Again, that's at Albert's expense, the tuition and the fees, so long as you pass the class. If you fail the class, we do ask you to sign a contract, and then We do expect you to reimburse the district. That's consistent with state laws. Those 4 students who failed those classes did have to reimburse the district, but it doesn't happen very often. We're going to set you up with a tutor, set you up with a time in the day to take those classes. It's like 4th hour will be your college class or something along those lines. So we'll do all sorts of things to make sure you're successful. I check in on you once a week. Something to think about. All right, vocational options. Okay, the other side of that screen, I want you to know as you enter as a freshman that we have a whole bunch of vocational options here at Elbert. Okay, we can prepare you for careers that are either with college or separate from college. We have a pretty robust VOAG program. We have a brand new VOAG teacher this year, Ms. Davis Court. And we were very fortunate. We were very worried that when Ms. Schuster left us, we would have difficulty filling that position. I think I'm very optimistic about how well we've done with Ms. Davis Court. She is a VOAG teacher from California who was the director of a program quite a bit bigger than Elbert. And her only adjustment is going to be adjusting back to small town life, the running the program and teaching the classes she's going to be excellent at. So we have a 4-year program. Your student can, or as a freshman, you can start and have 4 straight years of ag classes, oftentimes tied to membership in FFA as well. So you can see the typical sequence there. Intro to Ag as a freshman. Animal science and horticulture are on the schedule every other year. And so this year, horticulture is on the schedule. As a sophomore next year, you would likely take animal science, horticulture as a junior. And then year 4, there's always at least one other ag class, FFA class on the schedule. You can take concurrent classes with Northeastern Junior College, which is another secondary institution that we partner with, as Arapahoe Community College does not offer ag classes. But 4-year plan for ag. Culinary arts in this field, we have a 4-year plan. Oftentimes you start with culinary 1, culinary 2, and catering are sometimes flipped, or sometimes Ms. Field teaches them in the same hour, kind of concurrently. If you get to year 4 in the culinary program, we can set you up with some independent study. We'll find you a concurrent enrollment course. Who knows? You could help manage the concession stand. We will be creative, and we've had a few students kind of get to that point of a year 4 culinary student. Our Woods program right now, we have Woodshop 1 and Woodshop 2. It's a 2-year program, although you can repeat those classes more than 2 times. So you can take 4 years of woodshop if the schedule works out. Okay. Last year, we also started an IT program. That's an online program, IT Fundamentals. That is a self-paced online program with a cybersecurity emphasis. And you go a certain amount of ways, you earn a certificate. Another few months down the road, you can earn another certificate. We had a number of students last year, the first year, earn their basic IT certificate. And we have some students who will perhaps be starting this year midway into their second certificate. We didn't quite get anybody through 2 full certificates next year, I don't believe, or last year, I should say. But IT Fundamentals, Mr. Goodger oversees that. That's a class where you got to be self-motivated and self-directed. Mr. Goodger oversees it, but he really doesn't teach it. It's computer-driven, self-paced kind of thing. You can go as fast as you want to go. All right, some other things. We do have an agreement with Peyton Auto. I currently have 3 kids scheduled to go over this year. That's in the afternoons usually. And it's a 2-year program to earn you can earn a number of auto certificates that might help you get a job in the mechanic industry. Normally that starts your junior year. There's a couple of reasons for that. One, you have to provide transportation yourself. Usually by the time students are juniors, they can drive themselves. And it takes all afternoon to earn 2 credits. It takes 3 hours to earn 2 credits because of the commute. So students have to absolutely be on pace to graduate. to attend the Peyton Auto program. If you're interested in auto and you would like to, maybe start your junior year taking some auto classes, don't fail any classes your freshman and sophomore year, because then you put me in a pickle, put yourself in a pickle in terms of deciding whether or not you can do that. If you fail just one class, maybe you can still do it. If you fail more than one class as a freshman and sophomore, you're not going to have enough wiggle room to take the Peyton Auto. So just be aware of that. When you get to be a 12th grader, a senior, you may do that work study I referenced earlier. You can go find a job, and we'll give you credit for it, as long as that employer will work with us on a few minor things. Allow us to call them and check in on you, offer a little feedback on what your grade might be. You can go get paid, get your paycheck, and get some elective credit as well. And then at the bottom of the screen, I also talk about other options as needed. I referenced earlier a student who did some welding. We found a place for him at Pikes Peak Community College to earn a whole bunch of welding certificates. And like I said, he was the individual who graduated out of here with 27 credits in college in his pocket, and several welding certifications, MIG, TIG, all that jargon that I don't know much about. He was willing to commute to the Colorado Springs. He did a lot of classes on Monday. He had to be flexible. We had to be flexible, but we found a way to get him some vocational training that is not on our basic list here. So if you want to do some nursing, we have 2 students doing an internship this summer in the nursing field. Things like that, we will try our darndest to find something for you if it's not currently on this list. So that's why I include the comment about other options as needed. We will find something. All right. I also want to talk just a little bit about extracurricular programs. That's another change that happens when you get to high school. The extracurriculars change just a little bit. So I'll go through this really quickly, and then I'll invite you to email me or call me if you have any questions. But extracurricular participation is a privilege, not a right. I always like to start with that. That's true in middle school as well. As a freshman, as a parent of a freshman, students have a right to English class, to math class, to an education. But extracurricular is just that. It's extra. And it's a privilege, and everybody involved ought to start any conversation about extracurriculars understanding that. So it's a good baseline. It's always the first bullet point. All right, some academic programs that we have here. We have National Honor Society, Student Council, Future Farmers of America, Matchwitz Book Club, and the library does some stuff after school too that's not on that list, but we have quite a few academic extracurricular activities for people, for our students. In terms of sports, we offer cheer, volleyball, football, boys and girls basketball, boys and girls track and field, and baseball. So I also, as a sub point to that, if when you get to high school, if there is a sport we don't offer here at Elbert, but you wish to play, you want to play lacrosse, you want to wrestle, you swim, you dive, you play golf, whatever it is, you need to come talk to me. I'm also the athletic director here at Elbert, and CHSAA, the governing body of high school athletics here in Colorado, will allow you to play at a neighboring or contiguous district, okay? So you can't just go anywhere you want. Don't just show up at a practice at Elizabeth High School or something like that. Please come and talk to me. There's a process for that. But if you want to play a sport that we don't offer here, we can work that out. We do encourage all our athletes to be Bulldogs. Obviously, we want as many kids out in purple and gold as possible to be a part of our programs to help us compete. But if you are truly a dyed-in-the-wool field hockey gal, we'll find you the closest field hockey program to participate in. Okay. I've already mentioned CHSAA here. I think that's the biggest thing that point I would want to make to athletes, freshmen, parents at this point, is understanding that once you get to high school, there is a governing body. In middle school, our league has a few rules, but it's kind of like the NCAA is a good analogy. You can't just, there's certain things you can and can't do. There are rules about transferring schools. There are rules about eligibility. 99% of that is my job to deal with, to make sure we're in compliance with all those things. But as a freshman, as a parent, you should know that this governing body exists. So a couple things as you enter Elbert, the first bullet point under CHSAA there is, when you start your athletic career here at Elbert, Elbert School becomes your School A. That's a bit of athletic director jargon, School A. Okay, if you transfer to another school, you can't necessarily just transfer and play at that school and be eligible at that school. Okay, there are rules about how and when you can transfer, and if you are eligible for varsity play when you transfer. Okay, when you transfer, you can always participate, but you may not be able to participate at the varsity level. Okay, and there are some, it depends on the circumstances. There are times you can transfer and you become eligible. There are times you might transfer and have restricted eligibility. Okay, there's a million scenarios there. I don't want to go through all of them, but I want you to be aware, as incoming freshman parents, as incoming freshmen, that these rules exist. There is a governing body, and you can't just move willy-nilly or show up at a program. If you're enrolled at Elbert, you can't just show up at Peyton to play basketball. And if you transfer, you may or may not have restricted eligibility. Okay. The second bullet point just states that Elbert High School and all its participants are subject to CHSAA rules and consequences. So CHSAA may govern situations involving your participation. If you are ejected from a ball game, for example, you get thrown out of a basketball game, you will sit the next basketball game. And that is a CHSAA rule. Okay, CHSAA will dictate you cannot play the next game. As an example, if you transfer, CHSAA may dictate your eligibility, so forth and so on. Okay, again, a million scenarios. I'm not going to go through them all. I just want incoming freshmen and parents to be aware that there's a governance there that wasn't present in middle school. Okay, Elbert's also part of the Black Forest League. There may be a few rules there. That's probably, that's again more for me to deal with. Make sure we follow our league rules as well. And then there's CHSAA, there's the Black Forest League, and then there's Elbert High School. We have some rules as well. So there's layers of governance when it comes to extracurricular participation. So here at Elbert, you should know some of our rules. Some of them are similar to middle school if you've been a student here. So one, to stay eligible, you have to exhibit great behavior. Okay, you should be exemplary. That means you should be the example of how to behave in class. Okay, you can lose your right to play for a game, for a season, worst case scenario forever, for levels of behavior. That has happened before. I like to give students second chances. I don't like to take away privileges. Usually when we do that, Ms. Thompson and I sit down and it's an administrative decision together, but be aware. Okay, eligibility. There is a reason you are called a student athlete, not an athlete student. Okay, student comes first. Okay, so be aware of that. Eligibility is going to be the same as it's always been if you're a returning Elbert student. It's determined on Tuesday. If you fail a class, you are ineligible for a week. If you have 3 or more Ds, you are ineligible for a week. Next Tuesday, you may regain eligibility if your grades are better, if you meet the standard, which is passing all classes, no more than 2 Ds. Okay. At the end of each quarter, those quarter grades will be recorded. They'll be posted in GoEduStar, our online platform, and then those grades are good for 3 weeks. So as the end of quarters arise, you have to be aware of that. You have to make sure you finish each quarter in good standing without any Fs, without 3 Ds or worse, because then you might be sitting for 3 weeks. We do that because we want, it actually helps students in more situations than not. We don't want a student to be ineligible the first week of second semester because they failed 1 quiz at the start of second semester. We feel that it's fairer to go off of 9 weeks of grades until a quarter's grade book is populated with enough grades to be fair and valid. Okay, so after about 3 weeks, you should have 5, 6, 7 or more grades in a class, and then we feel like that's fair. I hope that makes sense, but we don't like kids to fail one class at the start of the fourth quarter and automatically they can't play in a baseball game, or fail one quiz. That we don't feel that's the best way to go. Okay. All right. You need to have a current physical to participate. That's the same as middle school, 365 days on file. We just did physicals here at school over the summer, had 50+ kids come through. That's great. You must fill out, parents, that is, all the appropriate paperwork on Easy School Enroll, and it's $25 a sport to play. It's play 2 sports, get the third, fourth sport free at Oberg. We like to promote multi-sport participation. We also recognize there's parents out there with multiple kids who want to play multiple sports, and we want to be reasonable in our what we ask you to play sports. I do think we are very reasonable compared to neighboring districts in what we charge per sport, and that goes to the athletic fund. Primarily, I use participation fees to fund uniform rotation. So high school baseball this year, brand new unis. So is what we're going to do. All right. That is everything I have on my PowerPoint. That was a lot, but probably not every question you might have. So I want to, at this point, again, thank you for attending freshman orientation via video. I want to invite you to send any questions my way. You can email me, sgraves@elbertschool.org. You can call me, 303-648-3030. My direct extension is 120. And during business hours, students, you can walk in. Parents, you can come in anytime. If you want to meet with me, parents, I do encourage you to call ahead of time and make an appointment, because you may show up at 11 o'clock and I might be right in the middle of something. So if you show up in an impromptu way that's a little sketchy, I will do my best to meet with you. But calling ahead of time and making an appointment is always better. I promise to make a time for everybody. That is one of my jobs. I'm a civil servant. I am here to set you up and set your students up for success and have an open door. And I'm happy to do so. All right. Freshman year, 4 years to graduation. Hopefully I've given you some information to chew on. Shoot me any questions you have. I look forward to seeing everybody at back to school night next week. And for the first day of school, the week after that. All right. Thanks, Bulldogs.